Hello, people. Another beautiful day. Yep. Hope your five senses work. Health and strength is good or excellent. What? What's up, Steam Deck fans? Listen to this. But this is really for the Xbox gamers. Listen to this. It says here, Final Fantasy 16 and other Square Enix titles may never make it to Xbox, as Sony exclusivity is going to get much worse. Says here, PlayStation Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth are all-time PlayStation exclusive, but they may never make it to Xbox, as exclusivity for Square Enix title is apparently going to get worse in the future. On Reset Era forums, Head on the Block, who was previously known as I Am a Hero 2, and provided correct information regarding a variety of Japanese titles, recently commented on the PlayStation and Square Enix exclusivity deals, saying they're about to get much worse. While it is unlikely, the insider may be referring to a possible acquisition of the Final Fantasy series publisher, as something like this would never leak in this manner. It's definitely sound like the relationship between the two companies will only get tighter. Says if this will be the case, it will be extremely disappointing for Xbox players. As they will be forced to get a PlayStation console or a gaming PC to enjoy titles like Final Fantasy 16, the announcement of Final Fantasy 14 for Xbox Series X and S. After years of PlayStation console exclusivity seems to mark a change in the publisher's stance on exclusivity, but it seems like many of the publisher's biggest titles may never make it on Microsoft consoles. Meanwhile, work on the PC version of Final Fantasy 16 is continuing, according to producer 14. Producer Nokai Yoshida, and SSD may be required to play the game, as no announcement of optimization may overcome the hardware barrier of a mechanical driver. Well, Xbox fans, let's see, you got some Final Fantasies, like Crisis Core, what was that, 14, I think it was 14, the one with all the male players. And then you have another Square Enix title from Square. But the relationship between Sony and Square Enix is really tight knit, because if you remember, you all know that Final Fantasy put put PlayStation on the map. And within the entire PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 years, Square Enix built up, between the PlayStation 1 console era and the PlayStation 2 console era, Squaresoft was separate from Enix. They both merge and become Square Enix. But Sony and Squaresoft, between the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 era, built a solid relationship before Final Fantasy even came to Xbox, because Final Fantasy didn't start coming to Xbox until the 360. So Sony had about a 10-year relationship before Microsoft finally got some games from them. So that relationship now is super tight. So with Microsoft now buying Activision Blizzard, and after the drama that came from that, it became official that Sony and Square are like this. Remember, I made videos that Sony and Square are partners in crime. So Final Fantasies is what put PlayStation on the map, and PlayStation ain't trying to lose Final Fantasies. They got a big user base for that. So in order to play Final Fantasy now, it looked like you're gonna have to get a PlayStation to do that. So yeah. But you got Crisis Core. You have 13.1 and 2. You have I think it's what 14 on the 360. You had a Final Fantasy Online for the 360 that had like 4 expansions. What else? I think you got another Square Enix game that I can't even call out, but that's how far it goes. But for then you have the Final Fantasy with the 4 male characters, male characters. So that's how far it goes as far as Final Fantasy goes. But this is a leak and a rumor. So if that's the case, and it says the exclusivity is about to get much worse. So Microsoft now buying Activision Blizzard. Sony realized how I guess Sony realized how valuable Final Fantasy is to them. So, and the value that Square brings to the table since the PlayStation 1 days, they not trying to lose that, because if they get Final Fantasy 7 remake on Xbox, to me that's like the death of PlayStation in a nutshell. So Sony's making sure that they don't lose their crown jewel, Final Fantasy, to Xbox. So yeah, if you want to play Final Fantasy, you have to get an Xbox or PC, meaning laptop, desktop, Steam, probably the Steam Deck, the Steam Deck, Asus ROG, Lenovo, ANEO 1X GPD to play those games. So yeah. But Square Enix, Square was by themselves when they merged with PlayStation after that situation with Nintendo cartridge versus CD. And then Square and Sony is like this. Enix was also making games for PlayStation. They're a Japanese company. But then during the I think it was a PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, one of the two, they merged, so now they became Square Enix. So yeah, that relationship now just got really super strong now since the Activision Blizzard court case. So yeah, where Sony tried to go at Microsoft over Call of Duty, and they were trying to pin Microsoft as the villain. So yeah, so Sony losing, Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard now. I guess Sony's realizing how valuable Square Enix is to them, so they're trying to hold on real tight and making that exclusivity deal now super tight now. So Xbox players now are going to probably have to get a laptop, desktop, or one of these portable PCs, Steam Deck, ANEO 1X GPD to play Final Fantasy. So yeah, and that's it in a nutshell. So Square Enix, Sony and Square are like this. They built a solid relationship between the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 era. You're not gonna, you can't break that, man. So and plus they're both Japanese companies too. So they're in each other's backyard, and then you add you add Enix to the mix now, and they merge now to become one company, Square Enix, and they make good RPGs, and not just Japanese gamers, but Asian gamers as a whole. They love RPGs, so yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to break that bond. I mean, they did give Xbox some Final Fantasies, but that Final Fantasy 7, that's what put PlayStation on the map, and they're not gonna give that game to. They might give it to PC, but Xbox, no, nah. That would be like Nintendo giving Mario to PlayStation or Xbox, man. That's how valuable Final Fantasy 7 is. So, in order to get Final Fantasy now, you're gonna have to get a PlayStation to play Final Fantasy 7. Play Final Fantasy, So, I mean, don't get me wrong. The Xbox One got a couple of them. The Xbox One got a couple of them. So, oh yeah, got a couple of them, but that's how far it goes, man. So yeah, that Final Fantasy, what was it, online and all that? Oh yeah, yeah. Microsoft is gonna have to find ways to get RPGs coming to them, you know. So yeah, that relationship now is that relationship between Sony and Square Enix now is like this now. It's getting solid, real tight, you know. And Xbox ought to understand. Phil Spencer now, he has to understand, like, okay, we get it. Final Fantasy is like Mario to Nintendo. Final Fantasy on PlayStation is like Mario to Nintendo. I mean, Final Fantasy VII is like, it's like Mario on a Nintendo. Okay, so you know, so they Phil Spencer got to understand that. So I mean, so you got to understand that. So in return now, if this is all true now, Phil Spencer is gonna have to make Xbox games really exclusive to Xbox. One of the things I didn't like was what Microsoft did is when they took Ori, because to me Ori is like a mascot for the kids. I hated the fact that Microsoft took Ori and put it on Nintendo. Never liked it one bit. They should have kept that studio and that game exclusive to Xbox. Okay, so no other company can get it. Me personally, that's just me. When I saw that, I'm like, why would you? It wouldn't make. I understand you're trying to get Game Pass everywhere, but don't take your games that you need to keep your core base and then giving it out to the competition. Nah. So I didn't like the fact that they took Ori and put it on Nintendo. I hated that to this day. So yeah. The other thing I didn't like too with Xbox is when Alan Wake started on the 360. That game should have been on Alan Wake 2 should have been an Xbox exclusive. You know, period. But that's just me. So yeah. So in this game industry now, if your games are exclusives to your console, you gotta hold on to them tight right now, because after that Activision Activision Blizzard Sony versus Microsoft court case drama, yeah, exclusivity now is getting real what's that word I'm looking for, tight. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still a Star Wars and Star Trek fan, or Dark Side. Go. Peace.